Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speedbuilding video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building in the world of Granite Falls, which is the world that we got from the game pack The Sims 4 Outdoor Retreat. I'm going to be building a family vacation log cabin. So I feel like it's a little bit overdue for me to do a build in the world of Granite Falls, because I don't think I've sat down and built in this world in well over a year. I think the last one I did was late summer of 2020 and we're now nearly at the end of December in 2021, and so I felt like building something in the world of Granite Falls was a little bit overdue. Plus, I don't know about anyone else, but when it gets to autumn and winter time, not only in real life but also in my Sims games, I love to get my Sims to go on little camping holidays with their families, and so I really wanted to sit down and build something that was very wholesome, very cozy, and just kind of like an ideal family vacation home. Now in total there is 2 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms in this rental, but you can sleep up to 5 Sims. I decorated the rooms to be suited for a set of parents, and then there's kind of like a children's bedroom slash playroom downstairs. In there, you know, there's like dolls houses, toy boxes, pretty much every activity to keep the children entertained when your Sims come on holiday. But in there as well, there is a set of bunk beds, so you can either have 2 children, 2 teenagers, or maybe a child and a teenager, and then also a toddler bed as well. So toddlers are accommodated for in this rental. It is toddler friendly and dog friendly. I was about to say pet friendly, but I did forget to add a litter box in, so if you bring a cat on holiday they might need a wee, so you might need to place one in somewhere. But regardless, I just wanted to sit down and build something quite cozy and quite homey for my save file, because this build will be in my save. I had a lot of fun building it. It took me a very long time. I think in total it took me around about 7.5 hours, but I just love the way it turned out, so I hope you guys like it as well. Now, even though I built this to be a vacation, you know, like rental house for your Sims to come on vacation to, if you wanted to, you could very easily just make this into a residential house. It will just be a case of switching the lot type from rental to residential. There's everything in this house that you would normally have in a normal house anyway, and so if you decided that you wanted to play in this house but you wanted it to be your Sims, you know, everyday family home, you could 100% do that. There is, you know, everything that you would normally find in a family home within this house as well. It's just not as decorated to be as personalised as what a family home would be, because for vacation homes in my save file, I want to make it so they're quite generic. I don't want it to be too furnished to one type of family, one type of, no, like storyline, because, you know, all different kind of Sims are going to stay in it, and so it's quite generically furnished, which, by the way, I love the way I've furnished it. There's a lot of, it's just very log cabin-y, and I know that's not very descriptive, but there's a lot of like wooden walls. I think the majority of the walls on the inside, apart from the bathrooms and the utility room, which laundry room, whatever you want to call it, which, by the way, there is laundry in this rental, which I never know whether to do laundry in rentals or not, so let me know if you prefer it, if I do or don't. But the way that I see it is, whenever you go on holiday in real life, unfortunately, you do spawn laundry when you go on holiday, and, you know, your Sims are also going to spawn laundry, and so I always like to have utility rooms in rentals. Whether you use it or not, it's completely up to you. If you decided that you don't want to play with laundry when your Sims go on vacation, no, maybe give them a rest, then you can definitely delete the laundry room and maybe extend the bathroom, because the laundry room just comes off the bathroom, so maybe you can make the bathroom bigger. Honestly, it's completely up to you. But yeah, if you wanted to live in this house full time, you didn't want your Sims to vacation here, I don't see why not. I mean, you could probably place it down into a world like Windenburg or Henford-on-Bagley. Thinking about it, probably Windenburg more so than Henford-on-Bagley, because off memory I can't think of the landscaping in Henford-on-Bagley, but I know in Windenburg there is a ton of different, you know, like rocks in the landscaping, as well as pine trees and all the similar bushes that are in the world of Granite Falls. So if you did want to place it down and use it as a residential, I'd recommend placing it down into maybe Windenburg. But yeah, anyway, moving on from that and actually talking about what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, the main structure of the build came together quite quickly. When I was building the main structure, I wasn't looking at anything. Honestly, I feel like it's quite a basic structure of a house. It's pretty much just a bit of a rectangle and then 2 bump outs, if you want to put it that way. Whenever I think of like a log cabin, this is pretty much what I would think of anyway, and so I just built what was picturing in my head. But you can see right now that I'm currently just going around and just playing around with the windows in this build. Now, I feel like the main selling point for why your Sims would want to come on vacation here is definitely the windows in this vacation home, because you can see it ends up having these triangle windows going into the roof, which currently is something that we don't have in the Sims 4 like build and buy menu, but you can play around with the game and play around with aspects with the tool mod to make it look like your Sims have triangular windows, and I just thought this was such a cool idea. Now, this is not my original idea. I've seen this done a ton of different times in loads of different builds. I believe the first person I saw do it was Freezer Bunny, I think anyway, off memory. If you don't know who Freezer Bunny is, honestly you should. I'll leave a link to their channel in the description box down below. I'm assuming most of you know who they are anyway, but if you don't, highly recommend. I think that they were the first person that I saw do this, but I just feel like these kind of windows in a log cabin especially just work so well. And I feel like the main selling point for this vacation home is the views, because we've got these triangular windows in 3 different sections of the build. We've got it at the front, we've got it at the back, and then we've also got it on the side. The side one, I'm just going to move on to it in just a second, because I did the front and I copied over the front to the back, because it's the exact same placement, it's the exact same height of the windows, and the exact same height of the roof. So, you know, you got to work smarter than harder. And so I could literally just copy and paste it over. But if you didn't catch what I was doing, I'm doing it again right now. So on the side, basically what you do is you get these, I don't even know what they are, like stepping stones from Spa Day. And with the tool mod, you're able to elevate it and then rotate them. And then with that, you was able to then place it down onto the wall, merge it into the windows, and then you're able to make it look like the windows are all one window, when they're actually like 12 different windows all put together. It is just the smartest idea, and I really want to do this in some more builds, but I don't know what other worlds this would fit in with. Maybe Evergreen Harbour, but I've kind of been avoiding Evergreen Harbour, if I'm being honest with you. That world is very broken. I didn't realise how broken it was until I went in the other week and I was trying to start building something there, and the world was like gone. It's very broken right now, and I really hope that next year we get a patch update very quickly for that, because that world has been broken for a while. But apart from Evergreen Harbour and Granite Falls, I can't think of where this kind of style of window would make sense. So I don't know, maybe give him some ideas. But yeah, I just thought it was the smartest idea. And you see on the side, that ends up being the nicest little lounge seating area. When I came in and I started furnishing it, I did it straight away because I was so excited to do it, because I was just imagining how the fireplace would look with all these like fluffy rugs, and I do that first because I was just really excited for it. But the views in that room are just so beautiful. You know that massive big lake that we've got in Granite Falls? That's what that room looks onto. So the room on the side, it looks onto the massive lake in Granite Falls. The front windows look onto the forest, and then the back windows look onto kind of like this small little stream at the back of the build. But if you go to the upstairs portion, so the upstairs, the main body of the upstairs, I don't know how else to describe it, but where the triangular windows are, I didn't section it off with walls because I have the roof is open, so there's no proper ceiling, if you want to put it that way. And I felt like if I was to put walls where there's no proper ceiling, it might be a bit weird. I mean, you can do it in certain builds where it will fit in, but I feel like it wouldn't have fitted in this build. But if you go to the upstairs portion, basically your Sims can stand there, look to their left and see the forest, or look to the right and then see like this little stream at the back of the build. I think the windows make it. And yeah, I really want to do these windows in some more future builds, but I'm really like, I don't know where else to put them. I feel like Granite Falls is like the perfect place for them. So maybe my save file for this world will just be filled with loads of different builds. That's another thing I want to talk about as well. With my save file, with vacation homes, especially in this world, I don't want there just to be, you know, 2-bedroom vacation homes or 3-bedroom or whatnot. I want to do kind of like one of each. So I want to do maybe a vacation home that only has 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom, maybe ideal for maybe a couple that have just got engaged, or maybe a couple that have just, you know, gone on their honeymoon and they want a vacation here for their honeymoon. But then I also want to have massive family builds as well. I want to have different vacation homes for depending on what your family size is, put it that way. But that will be coming in the future at some point. But anyway, moving on from that and actually talking about what I'm doing right now. Oh, also before I forget, you know what I was doing with the tool mod and them Spa Day little stepping stones to make it look like there's a triangular window from the outside? I also did that on the inside of the build, but you don't see me do it for 2 reasons. The first reason, where there's no ceiling and it just kind of goes into the roof, my camera was going all over the place. It was going up, down, left, right. I couldn't get it to stay in one position, and so the footage would have been absolutely horrendous to watch because I was having a hard time trying to figure out what I was doing, let alone having it sped up. And then secondly, it would have added a good 2, possibly even 3 minutes onto this video already, and I didn't want to make the video really long. And especially with doing the inside version of like the triangular windows, on the outside it's not so bad because I could control my camera. But where there was no ceiling on the inside, for some reason I couldn't copy and paste the front to the back. You know what I did on the exterior, how I was able just to copy them over and then it was kind of done. For some reason on the inside I wasn't able to copy them over, and I had these like spa day plank thing just floating in the middle of the air, and it just did not look good. And so I had to do the front and the back individually, like on their own. For some reason it just wouldn't let me copy them, and so it would have added an extra 2 or 3 minutes onto the video, and I just didn't want to make it very long. And so I decided to cut out the footage of me placing it so it looks like triangular windows on the inside. But don't worry, they are there, you won't see it in the footage. But anyway, finally moving on, actually talking about what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I'm starting to do a bit of the landscaping. Now with the landscaping, I did decide to cut out the back portion of the landscaping. The back area is quite small. I mean, out there ends up being, I'm pretty sure, like a seating area, a barbecue, and then I think a couple of planters, and that's pretty much it. I do show you the activity portion of the back garden. It's not even really a garden, it's just kind of like a back space of the build, but I do show you placing down, like, you know, like the barbecue and whatnot. But in terms of the landscaping, I did decide to cut it out because, again, I just didn't want to make this video really long, and there is so much landscaping going on at the front of the build. I mean, you can see the amount of different plants and just all the different shrubs and flowers and rocks and stuff. There is a ton of it in the front, and I felt like, especially showing the back, it might get a little bit too repetitive. The landscaping in the back garden is nowhere near the extent of what it is at the front garden, but I feel like the front garden, when your Sims are going to be coming and vacationing here, I personally feel like my Sims are going to be spending more time at the front of the build rather than the back of the build, because I end up adding a little campfire in front of the fireplace, and, you know, somewhere where your Sims can, you know, go and sit around the campfire, roast marshmallows, have a little sing-song, and just have a little bit of a catch-up, maybe tell some group stories or whatnot. And I feel like, for me personally, I prefer that gameplay rather than getting my Sims to go outside and have a barbecue. I still wanted there to be a barbecue in this build because, you know, everyone loves a roasted jacket potato or whatever you can do in the barbecue. To be honest, I haven't got my Sims to make any barbecue recipes in a while. I'm pretty sure whenever I playtest my builds, which, by the way, a good time to mention, as always, this build has been play tested and everything works absolutely fine, so you're not going to run into any problems if you do decide to download it. But whenever I do play test my builds, I always get my Sims to grill grilled fruit on the barbecue, and honestly can't remember the other options because I always just seem to go for that one because it seems to be the easiest one for me to click on quickly. But yeah, like I mentioned, this build has been play tested, and so you won't run into any problems if you do decide to download it and place it into your game. But currently, as you can see, I'm just going around the exterior of the build and just kind of finishing up the landscaping. I added in a ton of different rocks, as you can see. The ones that I used are from the world of Granite Falls, because something that I found is when you're trying to add debug or live edit rocks into your builds, say if I wanted to add, maybe I'm doing a build in Oasis Springs and I wanted to add some rocks in that are in the neighbourhood, there's a lot of different colours of the rocks that's in the live edit menu. So if you place a rock down that is from the live edit menu but it's in the world of Oasis Springs, and you place it down into, I don't know, Willow Creek or Windenburg, they're going to be different colours depending on where the rock comes from. Does that make sense? So all the rocks that are placed down are from the world of Granite Falls, so they all, you know, they all match in with the rest of the rocks in the surrounding area and kind of make it look like it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb, basically. But anyway, now as you can see, I've moved on to the back portion of the build, and I'm just doing this little barbecue area. Over here, I use a base game barbecue. I placed a plant in the corner. I placed down that stool, which I placed down in pretty much every single one of my builds at this point. But it's from Jungle Adventure, just kind of like a little place for your Sims to maybe, once they finish barbecuing something, put it down on the stool, or maybe place down their shoes or something. I tend to use it more so for a table than as a seating area. I don't know what it is, but I always feel like it's a nice little table. And all the tables, like all the side tables we have in The Sims 4, they're quite big, like they're quite high, and I feel like sometimes when I'm doing like bedside tables, you have this really low bed and then all of a sudden the bedside table is really tall and it doesn't make any sense. But I really like using that Jungle Adventure stool. Anyway, as well as that, on the outside I placed down one of the picnic tables. The one that I placed down is from Snowy Escape. I use a lot of Snowy Escape in this build. I mean, you can see that I've now moved back to the front portion and I'm doing this little campfire area, and in this little campfire area I placed down 2 armchairs which are from Snowy Escape. And the reason is they've got these really nice little fluffy like blankets or rugs kind of like put over them, and it just makes it seem so cozy and, to me, very log cabiny. And so I use quite a lot of it in this build. But on the back garden portion, I used a picnic table that has some like fluffy rugs on it, and there is also some planters, and that is pretty much it. But you can see that I'm now just going around and finishing up the front portion and kind of like the whole exterior of the build. I got these wooden planks out of the debug menu. Now a little heads up, if you're someone like me that has the Better Build Buy mod installed, how you're able to, you know, like get all the live edit and the debug menu items so freely and have them in your normal build and buy. If you want to do something similar to this, I found that there is, I think, 3 different wooden planks in the debug menu, but the ones that I've used are the only ones that I can rotate. And if you're looking for them, I'd recommend searching for literally wood plank in your little search bar, and then they'll come up. Just a little heads up, just because I played around for it for a really long time because I was trying to figure out how do I get these to rotate. Then I realised there's multiple versions of the wooden plank. But yeah, anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now finally moved on into the inside of this build, and I've started off by furnishing this little side room that looks onto the big lake in this world. I just love the way it came together. It's very simple in this room, but I feel like the simplicity of it kind of works. I use a sofa which is from the Paranormal Stuff pack, and then in this room I paired it with the same armchairs that I used on the outside portion, but I brought them in and I used them in a different colour. I also used them in different places around the build. Like I used them in, I'm pretty sure, the hallway, which is what I've now moved on to. I think I might use them on the upstairs portion as well, because the upstairs, the area where it's kind of like an open ceiling, it ends up just being a really nice seating area. But I use them in a different swatch in that little side room just to match with the Paranormal Stuff pack sofas. But I just love the way it turned out so much. I just think it's such a nice little reading area. Maybe your Sims children have come on holiday and they've got a ton of different homework to do. They could go in there and do their homework. Your Sims could just sit in there maybe on a tablet and play some games, or they could read a book. And it's just a really nice little seating area. And then I also, if you was wondering, I got this kind of like wall decoration which is from Dream Home Decorator, and again with the tool mod I rotated it and then changed the colour swatch, and then I placed it as kind of like a picture. That is something that I really did struggle with in this build, is the paintings on the walls. You see these paintings that I've placed above this little side table, these black, white and gold ones. I use them in all the swatches basically in this build because I was really confused on what to do for the artwork. I would really love, and I said about this before, but I would love it if we could get either like an artwork kit of some sort, or maybe even just a clutter kit. I feel like a clutter kit would go down so well. Not even just like for builders. I feel like people that enjoy gameplay just love cluttering up houses and making them feel realistic. I mean, I'm only speaking from my point of view, but I feel like a clutter pack would go down really well for the Sims team. And you know, we've got a plant kit, why not get a clutter kit? I mean, why not? But anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the main lounge room. So you would have seen that I just did one lounge room, the one that had the Paranormal Stuff pack sofas in. Now this room I was going to make into another bedroom, and originally when I was doing the floor plan, I kind of had it set in stone that this room was going to be just a really big bedroom. It might have, you know, like 2 sets of bunk beds in. It was maybe going to be a room for teenagers. But then once I did that little small room on the side, I kind of realised that there wasn't enough room to put a TV in, and it kind of felt a little bit squished in a way, and I wanted there to be somewhere where your Sims could sit down with all members of the family, you know, chill out on the sofa, have some snacks, you know, maybe watch a film together, and there would be a TV in the room. And so I decided to make this room into kind of like another lounge, living room, seating area kind of thing. Of course, if you wanted to have an extra bedroom, you could very easily switch out either this room or the other lounge room, because they do pretty much the exact same thing. They're just pretty much seating areas with a fireplace. This one has a bookcase and a TV, and that's basically it. But I just felt like this was so homey, and this is going to be a really obscure reference, and I don't know if anyone else is going to get this, but when I was decorating the inside of this, I was thinking back to, you know, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It's one of the very early seasons, but they all went away and they travelled to like a log cabin, and I just remember this one scene where Kim took all of their phones and she went upstairs, and there was kind of like an open area, and she just threw all their phones, I'm pretty sure, over this like open area. But I was thinking back to that log cabin that they stayed in. Bear in mind, I have absolutely no idea what season it was. I have absolutely no episode reference or anything. It was just something that I watched once upon a time, and I remember that I liked the way that the inside of this log cabin that the Kardashians stayed in like 2009 or something. And I tried to remember how it was decorated, and I tried to take inspiration from that when I was furnishing the inside of this build. It's probably because I've never been to a log cabin myself, so I don't really know what they look like. I've only ever seen them in films and TV shows, but yeah, I mean, I don't feel like anyone's going to know that reference, but if you do, I think it was like season 2 or season 3 of Keeping Up with the Kardashians helped me furnish the inside of this house. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the kitchen. So in the kitchen, again, with like the wood theme kind of going on, I wanted to stick to that. So I'd use these industrial looking counters which came from base game, and I used them in one of the updated swatches, and then I used the Dream Home Decorator oven and then stovetop and then a Snowy Escape fridge in the corner. I use that fridge because it looks like it's a wooden fridge, and I just felt like it fitted in with the log cabin, and so I decided to use it. I also decided to give this kitchen like a little breakfast bar area, but it's not a usable area that your Sims will be able to sit down and eat their food at, because something, and I do it in quite a lot of my videos anyway, but whenever I do a breakfast bar, a lot of the time I won't attach the chairs to the breakfast bar, so your Sims won't be able to sit down, put their plate down on the table and then eat from that. I normally place the chairs a bit skew with, I don't know how to, like, I rotate them so they're not, you know, like attached to the breakfast bar, because I like the look of, you know, your Sims have just got up from eating and then they haven't pushed their chair in properly. And so the way that I do that is I place down the counters and then I place down any stool, doesn't matter which one it is, and then I make it so that stool kind of like locks to the counter, and that way when I place down the bar stools that I actually want to use, I can like freely rotate them. Does that make any sense? But I did place down 2 different bar stools in this kitchen, but your Sims won't sit there and eat with like their food on the table. They might sit there and maybe eat with like their food in their hand, but just a little heads up. And if you want to change it, then you can just change it so the little bar stools aren't rotated and you could lock them back into the counter. But anyway, besides the point, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the dining room. So in the dining room, the upstairs portion looks down onto it, so it's like an open ceiling. So put it this way, if your Sims were standing in the dining room and they were to look up, they could see all the way to the roof. And I really liked that. I wanted there to be some kind of open floor plan in terms of looking over something in this build somewhere. And the perfect location just happened to be the dining room. In here, I decided to go for the Seasons like long big table, which is a table that I never seem to use. It's got this kind of like greeny blue tint to it, which I'm personally not a massive fan of. But I decided that it went nicely into this build, so I decided to use it. But then I decided to pair it with some cats and dogs chairs, a little fluffy rug underneath it, and then you would have seen I placed down these lights on both the walls and the ceiling. They're from the debug menu, and when you're in gameplay it disappears because it might seem a little bit weird because they're kind of like hanging over the dining room table, plus they're like kind of on the walls, and you can see them when you're building, but when you go into live edit mode, or is it live mode or live mode? I never know how to say it, and people always have this debate, but whenever you go into actual gameplay, you won't see them, they'll disappear. And I place them down purely for the fact of where it was an open kind of floor plan, it looked all the way up to the roof. The lighting was a little bit funny, and I wanted it to be well lit like the rest of the house or the rest of the rental. And so I decided to use these like debug lighting things to kind of like lighten it up a little bit, as well as placing down some debug floor lamps and then also some wall lights as well. But anyway, besides the point, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the children's room, the children's playroom kind of thing. Now I ended up adding a fireplace into this room, which it's not a real fireplace, it's one like the fireplace has been taken out, but like the shell of the fireplace has remained. And it was purely for the fact of there is a fireplace on the other side of the build, because you know outside where the little campfire is, I wanted to replicate that onto the back build, or like the back of the build, but then I didn't end up putting a fireplace onto the back of it, and there was already a chimney on the outside, and I felt like it would be a bit weird, and I always do it in my builds. If ever there's a chimney or there's a place for a fireplace to go, I always like to make sure there's a fireplace there, because it's a little bit realistic in my mind, it just kind of works. And so I felt like having an actual fireplace in a kid's room where a toddler sleeps would be very dangerous. So I decided to use one which is from base game, or it might be from the holiday free pack, one of the two. But it's one where your Sims can't set it alight, and it won't burn down the toddler's bed or anything like that. But in that room, I decided to go for the Dream Home Decorator bunk beds, and then there is like an eco lifestyle dollhouse. There is the little toy box, which is from I think Kids Room Stuff. Yeah, it's just a bunch of different things in that room. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs portion of this rental, and I started off by doing it this open plan kind of like seating area. I honestly thought this looked so romantic. In my mind, when I was decorating it, I could just see a couple just sitting on these little armchairs of an evening, maybe having a glass of wine or two, and just chit-chatting, and it looks out onto the view of Granite Falls, you know, like the whole entire world, and it is just so beautiful. I used the same armchairs that I used downstairs in like the hallway and in one of the lounge rooms, and I just paired it with simple decorations like plants in the corner. I think I used a hanging plant or two. I also used a bookcase. It's so simple, but honestly I feel like it's such a romantic area for your Sims to come and maybe sit over night time and just, you know, talk to each other. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is one of the bathrooms. Now, like I've already mentioned, there is a total of 3 bathrooms in this rental, but like always, I only ever show the furnishing for 1 bathroom. They're just too boring and too repetitive. But in this room, there ends up being a walk-in shower at the end. You can see that I've used some platforms to kind of raise it, and then I used a half wall and then a window, trying to create this like walk-in shower effect. But now I'm moving on into the last room in this rental, which ends up being the master bedroom, which I imagine is going to be the rooms that parents stay in. In here, I end up placing down a snowy escape bed. The one that I use looks like it's got this like fluffy blanket on it, and it looks really cozy. And then I end up placing down 2 bedside tables, both with a lamp on, a little chest of drawers in the corner, and then I think I placed down like some plants and maybe like an odd shelf in the corner and whatnot. And that is basically it. So anyway guys, I'm actually going to end this voiceover right here. So as always, you can download this build via the gallery. My origin ID is Jessicapie, or you could just search for the hashtag Jessicapie or just the hashtag Jessicapie. I haven't mentioned it yet, but tomorrow is going to be Christmas Day, and so I wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. If you do not celebrate Christmas, then I hope you have the best day regardless of what you're doing. I have 1 more video to come out for this year, and then we're on to 2022, and I'm very excited for it. So I just want to thank you all very much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe. Hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedbuilding video. Bye guys!